At 2:13 a.m., his kitchen light turned on. He was asleep, and the camera was recording. I received this story from someone who asked to stay anonymous. He told me he lived alone. At least that's what he believed. He had moved into the apartment about 6 months earlier. Second floor, old building, cheap rent, the kind of place where maintenance requests go unanswered for weeks, where neighbors avoid eye contact in the hallway. Nothing unusual happened at first. No strange noises, no missing items, no signs that anything was wrong. Until the food started disappearing. It wasn't dramatic, just small things. Milk running out faster than it should, bread going stale too quickly, orange juice finishing a day earlier than he remembered. At first, he blamed himself. Work had been stressful. He hadn't been sleeping well. Maybe he wasn't paying attention. Maybe he was forgetting things. He even laughed about it once. He said, "Maybe I'm losing it." But then something happened that he couldn't ignore. One morning, he opened the fridge. The orange juice he had finished the night before was back. Not full, not empty. Like someone had taken a few careful sips and placed it back exactly where it belonged. He stood there longer than he meant to, just staring at the bottle, trying to remember. Maybe he bought two. Maybe he threw the wrong one away. Maybe he was just tired. He checked the trash. No empty carton, no cap, nothing. He checked the trash. No empty carton, no cap, nothing. He pulled up his grocery receipt on his phone. One bottle, just one. A tight pressure formed in his chest. Not panic, not yet. But something close. That night, he locked the front door twice, checked every window. Left the kitchen light on longer than usual. Then turned it off. He lay in bed staring at the ceiling, not trying to sleep, just listening. The apartment felt different. Not louder, not quieter, just aware. He didn't panic. He didn't call anyone. He didn't even step back. He just stood there, trying to force a reasonable explanation. Maybe he misremembered. Maybe he poured less than he thought. Maybe stress was messing with his head. He closed the fridge, walked to the sink, ran cold water over his hands. He needed something real, something solid. That afternoon, he stopped by the hardware store. He bought a small indoor security camera. Nothing expensive, just enough to cover the kitchen. If something was happening, he wanted proof. Not a feeling, not a suspicion. Proof. That night, he set the camera on top of the cabinet, angled toward the fridge, toward the table, toward the hallway. He tested it twice, made sure it was recording. Then he went to bed and waited. He barely slept. Every small sound made him check the time. Morning couldn't come fast enough. As soon as the sun was up, he sat at the kitchen table, opened the footage, pressed play. The first few hours showed nothing. An empty kitchen, dark, still. Occasional headlights passing through the window. At 2:13 a.m., the kitchen light turned on. Slowly, not flickering, not sudden. Like someone had pressed the switch carefully. He leaned closer to the screen. The kitchen was empty. No one in frame. Just the light. Then, after a few seconds, the chair by the table moved. Not violently, not knocked over. It slid back just a few inches and stopped. He replayed it twice, 3 times. There were no wires, no pets, no open windows, just the chair, moving on its own. He was about to turn it off. Tell himself it was a glitch, a trick of perspective. But then something changed in the hallway. At first, it looked like a shadow, a darker patch inside the darkness. Easy to miss, easy to ignore. It didn't move. For a long time, it didn't move at all. He almost convinced himself it was nothing, just the camera adjusting to the light. Then the shape shifted. Not forward, not fast, just slightly, like weight transferring from one leg to the other. His stomach dropped. The hallway was still too dark to see clearly, but something was standing there, watching the kitchen, watching the space where he usually sat, watching. It took one slow step forward, barefoot. The foot appeared first, pale, thin, then part of a leg, unnaturally still between movements, as if it didn't breathe. It didn't rush. It didn't hesitate. It moved like it had all the time in the world. And it was facing the camera. The next day he went to work like nothing had happened. He almost forced himself not to think about the footage, about the shadow, about the shape standing in the hallway. At the office, everything felt normal. People were laughing, complaining about deadlines, talking about their weekend plans. For a few hours, he managed to forget. The world felt stable again, logical, predictable. By late afternoon, he even felt embarrassed. Maybe he overreacted. Maybe the shadow on the recording was just bad lighting, a trick of the camera. When he got home, he was calmer. The apartment looked the same. Quiet, clean, no signs that anyone had been there. He made dinner, ate at the kitchen table, turned on a movie, sat on the couch, trying to relax. And for a while, it worked. At some point, he stopped listening for sounds, stopped checking the hallway, stopped thinking about the camera. The movie ended. He didn't turn off the TV right away. The light from the screen flickered across the walls for a few more seconds. Then it went dark. The apartment went quiet. Not normal quiet. A heavy kind of quiet, like something was waiting. He stood up, walked to the kitchen for a glass of water. The floor felt colder than usual under his feet. The chairs were perfectly aligned. Too perfectly aligned. The lights were off. The hallway was completely dark. He checked the front door. Locked. He checked it again. Still locked. In the bathroom, he looked up at the mirror. For a split second, it felt like the space behind his shoulder was darker than it should be. He turned quickly. Nothing there. Just the narrow hallway. He walked toward his bedroom. With each step, the air felt heavier, thicker. He slowed down near the door, because something felt wrong. He didn't remember leaving it open, but it was, not wide, just enough for someone to stand inside and watch. He pushed it open slowly. The room was dark, too dark. And that's when he saw the camera. It wasn't in the kitchen anymore. It was sitting on his nightstand, tilted slightly, like it had been placed there in a hurry. And the small red light was still blinking. It was still recording. He didn't touch it. Not at first. He just stood there, listening. The red light blinked again, still recording, which meant one thing. The camera hadn't stopped since he placed it in the kitchen. It had been moved, while it was on. Slowly, he reached for it. His hand was shaking. The screen was dark. But then he noticed something. The camera wasn't pointed at the bed. It was angled slightly past it, toward the doorway, toward the hallway behind him. He felt the air leave his lungs. Very slowly, he turned his head. The bedroom door was still open. The hallway was black. Silent. But the camera was not facing him. It was facing something else. After the third night, he stopped trying to explain it. The files kept appearing. timestamps he didn't remember, angles he didn't set. Each night, the figure was closer. First in the hallway, then inside the bedroom, then at the foot of the bed. It never moved while he was awake, only on the recordings, only when he wasn't looking. On the 5th night, he didn't sleep. He kept the lights on, sat against the headboard, camera in his hands, waiting. Nothing happened, no sounds, no movement, just silence. At 2:13 a.m., the camera screen flickered. He hadn't pressed record, but it was recording. He looked at the live view, and his stomach dropped. Because the camera wasn't showing him. It was showing the doorway, behind him. Slowly, something leaned into frame, not all at once. First, fingers, long, too thin, curving around the doorframe. Then part of a shoulder, and then a face, but not fully. It was stretched, like skin pulled too tight. The eyes were there, but slightly too far apart. The smile, too wide, not human, not right. He couldn't move. The figure tilted its head, mirroring the way he was holding the camera, studying him, learning him. Then the screen glitched. Static. Black. The final files appeared the next morning. The bedroom was empty. The bed untouched. The door slightly open. After a few seconds, he walked into frame. Slow steps, head lowered. He stood in front of the camera, lifted his face, and smiled. That same stretched smile. The eyes were slightly too far apart. He stared into the lens, not blinking, as if he knew someone would be watching. And just before the screen cut to black, the corners of his mouth twitched, like he was trying to hold the smile in place.